Welcome to the latest edition of our Sustainability Perspectives podcast, where, as part of the virtual portion of the Sustainable Packaging Summit, we hear from a range of different packaging experts to learn more about how their company tackles the sustainability challenges the world faces. My name is Elisabeth Skora, and today we're going to focus on the drive towards sustainable alternative materials to plastic packaging, and we'll do this together with Cirkla. We'll discuss challenges around making the switch and how Cirkla's moulded fibre solutions address these challenges. So, for this conversation, I'm really pleased today to welcome Ankur Gupta to the podcast. And he's co-founder and chief business officer at Cirkla. So, welcome, Ankur. Thank you for being on the podcast with me today.
Thanks a lot for having me here. I'm Ankur, one of the co-founders of Cirkla and a chief business officer here. Cirkla is a US headquartered company on a mission to help brands make their packaging more sustainable and meet their sustainable packaging goals. Our core expertise lies in molded fiber packaging solutions, and we'll talk more about that in the later conversation. In terms of my experience, I've spent around 13 years across strategy consulting, CPG firms such as Procter & Gamble, and building B2B businesses. And prior to starting Cirkla, I was a part of this US company called Zoom, which was again in molded fiber packaging. And I was leading the Asia Pacific and European business and expanded our business to almost 25 countries.
And I wanted to start our conversation with a slightly broader question. What would you say, what drives the shift to alternative packaging materials?
That's a great question. And there are three key levers which I feel are driving sustainability in packaging in general and not just the shift to alternative materials. And those are, I think all of us know about it. It's consumers, regulations, and brands. So consumers globally have become very aware. They are demanding more sustainable alternatives and they want more transparency in what they're buying, not just from the product, but also from the packaging. So consumers have started demanding sustainable alternatives from brands. And then regulations have come in. I mean, PPWR, which got officially adopted as a formal text yesterday. And then plastic bans, single-use plastic bans have been there all over the world. So governments are taking steps in the right direction. So legislations are playing a very important role. And then fortunately, brands are also very serious about making the switch to sustainable packaging. Most CPG companies and most brands have their 2025 and 2030 goals. And we've been working with them for quite some time. And we know for a fact that they're extremely serious about making the switch.
Leading on from that question, what would you say are some of the common alternatives to plastics in packaging?
Right. So before we go to the common alternatives, maybe we can take a step back and look at the overall problem that we are trying to solve. So the problem is the plastic waste crisis, right? And there are different ways in which we can solve that. And again, most of us know it, right? There are four key levers here again. First is reduction. The second is recycling. Third is reusing. And the fourth one is refilling. Now, within reduction, it's a combination of elimination of problematic packaging, including lightweighting, and then figuring out alternative materials. Recycling, we wholeheartedly believe that we should invest more in building the right kind of recycling infrastructure. And at the same time, both invest in reuse and refill infrastructures as well. Now, in a lot of conversations, we kind of pit one against the other, and we don't believe in that. We feel investments have to be made in all four. And all four levers have to be explored simultaneously to be able to tackle this problem. So that's where I wanted to start. And then within reduction of plastic, right, seeking alternative materials, that's a very significant lever that should be explored. We all know what the typical alternatives to plastic are, right? Paperboard, fiber, glass, metal, bioplastics, and seaweed. All of them have different degrees of viability. And truly the right material depends completely on the use case. So every use case, we have to do a deep dive and understand, hey, which is the truly viable alternative to that application. And that is kind of where it becomes slightly challenging, right? Because all brands are very, very serious about making the switch from plastics to an alternative material. But it's challenging because any alternative material has to be viable, right? To be able to make a meaningful, large scale impact. And this viability is ensured only if a material has four things. The first one is clear sustainability claims. The second one is technical performance parity. The third one is being cost competitive. And then the fourth one is commercially scaled manufacturing being available. And we can talk about each of these in slightly more detail. So the first one, clear sustainability claims, right? So if a brand has to move from plastic to another material, let's say seaweed or fiber, it has to be very clear what this new material is delivering. Is it recyclable? Is it compostable? Uh, does the recycling infrastructure exist? Does the industrial composting infrastructure exist so that even though it is compostable, will it actually get composted or not? So very, very clear sustainability claims have to be there. And then the second one is the technical performance parity. I mean, no brand will want to compromise on technical performance when it comes to packaging, because it can directly have a lot of downstream repercussions. And when we say technical performance, it's not just how the packaging performs when it's in the consumer's hand. It's the entire supply chain, right from when the empty packaging is there on the line, being operated by an operator, being filled on the line, and then being packed, being transported, being put on the shelf, and then finally being used by the consumer. So there are a lot of things that need to be kept in mind, and the alternative material has to be as good as plastic in performance across the entire supply chain. And then cost competitive, right? You can have a great sustainability claim, you can have great performance parity, but it has to be competitive in pricing, right? It can't be 2x or 3x because it just makes it prohibitive. And then the final one is great. You have a material which is clear in its sustainability claims, great technical performance, great in terms of pricing, but you can only make, let's say, 10,000 pieces every year. So then it's not a truly viable alternative, which is commercially scalable yet. I mean, it could be, but not yet. So, so that's where I think the right kind of balance has to be struck. And this is why it becomes very challenging for alternative materials to be adopted at scale.
Yes, that definitely sounds very complex. Absolutely. Um, I wanted to ask you how does molded fiber fit into all of this? How does molded fiber come in here?
Great. So before we get into how molded fiber fits into this specific area, just a little bit of more context on what molded fiber is. So molded fiber products are a family of products that are made from plant fibers such as sugarcane bagasse, wood pulp, rice straw, beet straw, and so on and so forth, that can be molded into products of different types. Now, molded fiber as a technology has existed for the last 15 years. I mean, all the takeaway bowls and clamshells that you see of, they're all molded fiber products, primarily made from either bagasse or wood pulp. So the technology has always been there. So what has happened is the sustainability claims are clear because the products are made from plant fibers. They're actually recyclable and home compostable. Commercial scale manufacturing exists, and the products are also cost competitive. The real challenge with molded fiber till now has been the technical performance for complicated applications. And that's where kind of Cirkla focuses on. Our core focus is high performance, complex applications so that we can tick off the fourth box and make molded fiber as a truly viable alternative to plastics across a variety of use cases. It's just so exciting for us to see how versatile the technology is. And with the right kind of efforts, right kind of innovation, what what are the range of applications that are possible? So just to give you some examples, we are focusing on a lot of complicated applications that nobody else has focused on before, like the modified atmosphere packaging trays, ready meal packaging, dairy cups, coffee capsules, scoops for protein powders and detergents, and so on and so forth. So it has immense technology, it's immense potential, but there has to be a lot of development and innovation that has to go in to make molded fiber as a truly viable alternative across these use cases. And that's where Cirkla is kind of focused on.
And how would you say are Cirkla's molded fiber solutions different from maybe traditional other molded fiber solutions that are out there?
Right. So as I said, the traditional molded fiber solutions were focusing on very easy applications like food service and food delivery. And then we came in and we said that, hey, we'll only focus on the high performance complex applications. Uh, how we are able to do it is through our molded fiber center of excellence, where we have a team of designers, NPD and R&D folks who constantly innovate on four things. The first one is the design of the product. Second one is barrier and performance. Third one is the technology itself. And then the fourth one is material and recipe. And I can talk about each of them one by one. So the first one is design. So when you take a plastic product and then you have to convert it into a molded fiber product, it seems like it's a easy transition, but it's actually not, because there is a lot of thought and development that has to go in designing the right kind of product so that we can balance functionality and costs. When I say functionality, it has to be really strong. It has to be operator friendly. So easy denesting. It has to be optimized for, let's say, the entire rigors of the supply chain that the packaging has to go through. As we discussed earlier, technical performance parity. So functionality is what we have to ensure. And at the same time, we have to design the products in a way that they are optimized for low cycle times and optimized for transportation costs. And because we've done a lot of this work, we've built that know-how, and we kind of now ensure that any new solution that we build is a truly viable alternative to plastic. So a lot of innovation on design. That's the first thing that the Molded Fiber Center of Excellence focuses on. The second one is performance and barrier. Essentially, how do we achieve moisture, oxygen, water vapor barrier? So we've had to build our own proprietary technologies to apply liners and coatings with molded fiber products so that we can achieve the barriers that are required for, let's say, dairy tub or modified atmosphere packaging tray or a meat tray that has a shelf life of almost close to 30 days. So a lot of innovation there in terms of barrier and performance. And then the third bit, as I said, was technology, which includes not just the machines, but the molds. So designing the molds in a way that the products are again optimized for cost, minimize rejections, and low cycle times. And then finally, materials and recipes. So we do a lot of innovation on the feedstock itself. What blend of, let's say, a bagasse or a bamboo pulp to use, what kind of additives to add to ensure that the right kind of intrinsic barrier properties are there in the product. So all of that combined is our real value creation in terms of building new solutions. And then we have a large manufacturing network in place. So we actually manufacture the products and we become suppliers to the large CPG firms. And we take responsibility of quality, cost, delivery, everything. And because we've been doing this with a lot of global brands, we've kind of know what it takes to go through the entire cycle, right? From conceptualization to commercial scale delivery on the shelf life. So the track record that we have with global brands helps us in easily executing these projects with them. So that's essentially where Cirkla is different from most other players out there.
Thank you. And could you talk a bit more in detail about your innovation in fiber MAP trays?
Right. So this is what we are most excited about for 2025. So MAP stands for Modified Atmosphere Packaging. Essentially, what you do is you replace the air inside the package with a very specific mixture of nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide to ensure that the product, typically meat, maintains its integrity and it ensures shelf life and product safety. So typically, uh, for MAP packaging, globally, either a polypropylene or a PET tray has been used at very high volumes. I mean, the US alone uses 7 billion MAP trays of plastic every year, and Europe market would be kind of similar. So it's a huge usage of plastic in this use case. And most of the efforts around bringing sustainability in MAP trays have been around adding more recycled content or scrap reduction or lightweighting. And all of these are great interventions, but to solve a problem at this scale, we thought that we need a significantly different approach and we need to seek alternative material. And we felt fiber is a great material for this kind of an application. Nobody has done this in this world before. So we took it as a problem, we took it as a challenge head on. And over the last 12 months, we've invested significant efforts of designing, development, trials with packers and processors in the US. And we finally made fiber MAP trays, which are our patents. And these trays can seamlessly replace plastic trays. They're plug and play and they can help reduce plastic waste by almost 85%, which is the real sustainability claim that these trays will ensure. So just to double click more on how these trays are very innovative, right? The first one is very, very clear sustainability claims, reduction in plastic waste. And at the same time, what we have done is there is a high barrier liner, which can be easily peeled off after the consumers have used it. So the base tray, which is made from bagasse, is essentially uncontaminated with food. So that's home compostable and fully recyclable in the paper stream. And then the the plastic liner can go in the plastic stream. So very, very clear sustainability claims. In terms of technical performance, we, I mean, again, done a lot of development work to ensure that the product, that the trays are very strong. They have very high seal strengths, and we measured that with standard post test scores. Completely plug and play, no capex required for the meat packers and processors. We've had to build our own proprietary liner and technology to ensure that the high oxygen and water vapor barrier that is required gets ensured with the fiber tray itself. And we passed all the shelf life testing with beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. So very, very high technical performance. So that checks off the second box. And then the price point is pretty attractive and the customers love it. It's an easy transition for them. And then finally, we have a large manufacturing network to ensure that we can supply millions of these trays every year. So we are super excited about this product. It's going to be commercially launched and you're going to be seeing it in retail shelves starting February next year. And then hopefully we'll expand it to other parts of the world as well.
I'm looking forward to seeing the trays in action. To sort of wrap up this podcast, I wanted to ask you, what are some other solutions that you're really excited about?
Yeah. So as I said, molded fiber is a very versatile technology. We are, kind of only scratching the surface right now uh, with what we've done in the last 2 years. And over the next 3 to 4 years, we've already identified a lot of other categories where fiber can easily replace rigid plastics. So overwrap trays, again, for meat packaging, both for the retailer application as well as for the meat processor application. Overwrap trays are a great uh, use case where fiber packaging will replace a lot of plastics. And then ready meal bowls is also, again, wherever you require higher shelf life, not just food delivery shelf life of 48 hours, wherever you like, you need, let's say, 14 to 21 day shelf life. Ready meal bowls are a great category that we've identified. Dairy tubs, where we've already passed the shelf life test with one of the largest dairy companies in the world. We put our tubs through a 4 month shelf life test and then it passed. And then the weight of the plastic in the tub is less than 5%. So it will be recyclable in most geographies. So dairy tubs is one. And then one of the more complex ones is coffee capsules, because coffee requires very, very high barrier. And the team is working on figuring out the right kind of liner or coating to make coffee capsules as a viable category as well. We are not there yet, but hopefully we'll be there in the next 6 to 12 months. Just to give you some numbers, the world uses around 80 billion coffee capsules every year. So it's a huge market, which right now is completely either plastic or aluminum, and it's ripe for adoption for fiber packaging. So yeah, the what I'm trying to say is that products can be molded into various shapes, and then with the right kind of liner or the right kind of coating, you can provide the right kind of barrier. So the sky is the limit. So there's just so much that you can do with fiber packaging.
Sounds like there's a really interesting developments in the pipeline, and yeah, we look forward to seeing more of that in the new year. That brings us to the end of today's podcast. Thank you very much for being here and for answering my questions, Ankur, and sharing your insights about fiber molded packaging.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening as well. Make sure you're subscribed to our podcast so you don't miss out any of the latest episodes. Thanks very much. Goodbye.